Ryan.
Hey, welcome back. We hope you enjoyed your time to connect with our amazing sponsors and other attendees in the community tent.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was a nice hour well spent. Photo booth, community tent, all the fun stuff. I enjoyed it. Needed that break. It's been a long, almost, what are we? I think we're at the 20-hour mark, 21-hour mark. It's
a lot of amazing content and speakers to digest and process.
So I'm really excited about this next panel, and we're gonna be talking with some, or letting them present themselves on giving back, how a company can successfully implement Five for the Future. So I'm looking forward to hearing about all of what Five for the Future means, and whether you need to be small or big to implement Five for the Future. And we have three great panelists presented by Laura Coronado, Christina Holt, and Justin Fole. Christina Holt is the Director of Project Management at Web Dev Studios, overseeing the project management team and the execution of innovative, responsive website development projects. Christina ensures client projects are organized, engineering is updated, and everything is on track. And then Justin Fole is the engineering manager at Web Dev Studios. Since starting in 2017, he's helped develop robust solutions for clients, including Viacom, Campbell Soup, the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and Love is Respect. Justin brings 20 years of web development experience to Web Dev Studios. And last but not least, with a love of all things marketing and communications, Laura Coronado manages the blogs, website content, and social media profiles for Web Dev Studios and its family of companies as the marketing strategist. Her role includes editing and proofreading the brilliant material written by the executive, business development, project management, strategy, technical support, and engineering teams. Is there anything Laura doesn't do at Web Dev Studios? So looking forward to this wonderful panel.
Discover Weglot, the simple translation solution for your website. All you have to do is add Weglot to your website. Select the languages that you need, and that's it. Your website is now available in multiple languages.
From website admin to actually installing WordPress, EasyWP takes care of all the technical hard work, so you can get started right away, publishing content, building your ideas, and growing your online business. EasyWP, WordPress made easy.
To put it simply, plugins power WordPress. But when a plugin fails, so does your site. With fully managed WordPress hosting from Nexus, you get carefully curated plugins that will save you from having to search the plugin database to find the right tools. And you'll never have to worry about managing or updating plugins again. Start building a site that loads ultra fast with instant auto scaling, visual comparisons, plus automatic plugin updates and platform updates. With fully managed WordPress from Nexus, better is built in.
Hi, I'm Nick from WP Buffs. We provide 24/7 WordPress maintenance and support for individuals, businesses, and white label partners. Whether you need someone to safely update your website or you need some serious help making your online business run smoothly, WP Buffs has your back.
Here at Green Geeks, WordPress works awesome. We offer a one-click installer with automatic updates, tons of developer tools like WP Staging, WP CLI, and Git, free WordPress migration, and access to award-winning expert support 24/7, 365. Plus, WordPress sites hosted on our platform are lightning fast. Most importantly, Green Geeks is the most eco-friendly WordPress web hosting company on the planet.
Hello, WordFest Live attendees. My name is Laura Coronado, and I am the marketing strategist at the WordPress agency Web Dev Studios. With me today are my coworkers and friends, Christina Holt, Director of Project Management, and Justin Fowle, Engineering Manager. Today, we're here to talk to you about how a company can successfully implement Five for the Future. Five for the Future is a WordPress initiative that encourages and promotes companies and individuals to dedicate 5% of their resources to the WordPress project. It was implemented in 2014, and that's when Web Dev Studios got involved. Giving back is important to us too. So we'd like to share with you today what it took for us to implement Five for the Future at Web Dev Studios, how we coordinate it and overcome challenges, and how we keep the momentum going both internally and externally. To begin, I'd like to have Christina talk about the history of Five for the Future at Web Dev Studios.
Hi, everyone. As Laura said, we started Five for the Future probably about 7 years ago. We wanted to be a part of this amazing initiative. We were a much smaller organization then, so it was very easy to kind of implement and iterate on. Today, we're a little bit of a larger agency, so anytime we do iterations or change our process or anything like that, it does take a little bit more of an effort. But a lot of our engineers were already contributing on their own time. And so when this amazing thing came up, known as Five for the Future, we really wanted to be a part of it and make it a part of our workday throughout the month. We've had various iterations over time. I think we first started, everyone was just kind of like, pick a day of the month, and that will be your day that you contribute back to WordPress in some way. And then over the years, we started to put together ideas internally that the team could potentially focus on. We also started to, I think our first iteration, we did like the first of the month, and that worked out a little bit. Then we tried like the last day of the month, and that worked for a little while. And ultimately we found that we were moving it, time and time again. And so ultimately we found that the last Friday of the month as a company works best. It allows people to, doing it all in one day also allows people to collaborate and work together on various initiatives. So it's pretty cool. We have a lot of different ways that our team contributes back to Five for the Future. We have various plugin development, whether it's plugins that exist that we help contribute to, or the team just comes up with different ideas for plugins, and it could be based on different things that they're experiencing on their own websites, or ideas that come out of various client projects as well. And so plugin development is definitely a huge way that our team contributes back to WordPress. Obviously, core contribution is the big one. We have a lot of team members at Web Dev Studios who contribute back to WordPress core. We have a lot of team members who help with WordPress forum support, which is always helpful in the community, and anyone can go and do that at any given time. But during Five for the Future Day, we do have a lot of contributors that go in and answer questions. Another great way that a lot of our team members contribute back is through WordPress conference talks. So although in 2020 we didn't have a ton of conferences, we have done a lot of them over the years. And so whether it's for a WordCamp or a local meetup, or just a conference such as WordFest, that is one way that we allow our team to contribute back to the WordPress community on Five for the Future. some of the people who work at Web Dev Studios are not necessarily technical. And so we have to come up with different ways and ideas for non-technical people, such as myself, to contribute back to WordPress. And one great way is to transcribe WordCamp videos. So if you ever have gone to WordPress like 101, and you can see all these different videos, and that's one way that people can contribute back as well. And then Laura's favorite is we also blog for the webdevstudios.com blog. And so different ideas come out of blogging, whether it's technical, non-technical, but that is also one way that we contribute back.
Christine, I want to ask you about the different iterations, because you've been here since the beginning. I'm newer to the company. How do you determine when you need to change the process along? Like, are less people participating? Are people complaining? Like, how do you come up with new iterations? When do you know it's time to change?
Yeah, that's a great question, Laura. I would say there isn't really just one major thing that has happened that has made us change our iterations. There's kind of like little things that pop up, whether it's, I do manage the schedule here at Web Dev Studios. So if I notice that like we are constantly having to shift a good amount of team members off of that specific day that we had dedicated, I try to look at why did we have to do that? Was it for a client deliverable? Did we not communicate effectively to our clients that we were potentially going to be closed that day? But that is one way. We want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to be able to contribute on Five for the Future Day and not feel like they're getting pulled back into something on that given day. So when those type of things start to happen, then we change that process up. I think early on when we kind of said, hey, everyone can pick a day and they can contribute back, that was difficult because we had a lot of team members who wanted to collaborate. And so that's where we came up with like, okay, let's dedicate one day throughout the month that we can have everyone contributing back so that if they want to collaborate or work together on a specific plugin or something like that, they can. One other big thing that came up over the years is, I think originally we weren't necessarily communicating to our clients that we were quote unquote closed that day. So now we actually communicate and notify our clients in advance that we have an all-day company event on that particular day, and it kind of helps mitigate that interruption. We do have some clients that have SLAs, and so we are flexible on those days. If something urgent comes up, we'll absolutely take care of our clients on those days, but it at least gives them a heads up and we communicate that.
Christina, I think one of the other iterations we did, at least when I started, was we had like build team days. So, you might be on Five for the Future with people that you're working on a project with. And that, I think that was easy for scheduling for like the client needs, but it didn't allow for like collaboration for people outside of your team too. Mm-hmm. So I think it was really good that we were able to get everybody on the same day, because it allows for the whole company to really come together and share what they're doing.
Yeah, and share ideas and share, if someone's really struggling with how they can contribute back, it definitely helps to be able to have everyone there. They can kind of talk through it, share ideas on how they can contribute. So yeah, that's a good reminder, Justin. So now we do it on the last Friday of every month. And, Justin's going to cover that a little bit more in a moment.
I wanted to know if you have any advice for somebody who's implementing this for the first time. We just met with a company that I won't mention their name right now, but we met with a company recently where we tried to mentor them. So I think now would be a great time for you to give some advice to somebody who's thinking about implementing Five for the Future as part of their company culture, as part of the processes at their company for the very first time ever.
Sure. So I would say my biggest recommendation is to be flexible. The first iteration on how you roll it out, it's probably not going to be the last. And definitely be open to feedback from your team on how things are maybe working, if they're not working so well, and share ideas amongst your your team. But the biggest thing is be flexible and know that it's probably going to change over time, and you're probably going to iterate over time. The other thing is definitely give your team ideas. So we don't necessarily limit how someone can contribute back to the WordPress community. We leave it very open. It's just an open day. So we're not, assigning things out to certain people. We're not telling them how they can contribute back or how they should. We just give them ideas on how they can. And our COO, Lisa Sabin-Wilson, actually sent something out internally when we first kicked this off that was really great. It was almost like a newsletter type announcement, which really gave everyone some ideas on how they can contribute back. And again, make sure that you include the non-technical folks as well, giving them ideas and letting them know that, there are ways that they can contribute back. That doesn't mean writing code.
That's awesome. Okay, so I think now's a good time for us to bring Justin in and talk about how we're doing 5 for the Future today. Like you're like the ghost of 5 for the Future present.
Right. and I want to open up with kind of recapping what Christina said. I think it really has to be self-directed. Like if you tell people what they do on their 5 for the Future day, it's just another day at work, right? It's the reason that we do 5 for the Future is so that people can recharge a little bit and put some time and energy into projects that they find interesting. A lot of the times, because we're self-directed, people will just collaborate. They'll get together with kind of birds of a feather because somebody's working on unit testing and I really want to dive into that, or I've been looking at something in React and I need some help and somebody's available. So I think that's really one of the paramount ideas, is to let people choose what they want to do. And also, we don't necessarily limit it to WordPress, because WordPress is like a growing ecosystem too. There's stuff that is outside of WordPress that people will work on. The real only requirement is that it's open source. So it has to be something that gives back to the open source community, which WordPress is a part of. But if you wanted to work on a JavaScript project that might be tangentially related to WordPress, that's fine too. It's just, you can't be working on your side hustles at work is really what it comes down to. And then I guess as far as the nuts and bolts of the day, like Christina said, we do it on last Friday. When people clock in, we have a spreadsheet that we have actually a dedicated Slack room for 5 for the Future if people want to post up what they're working on, so that if somebody else is interested in helping them out, or just to let the team know hey, I'm going to do this. There's also lots of just encouragement that goes on in there, cool, good job, keep it up type of stuff. Everybody will check in on a spreadsheet, just kind of mark what you're doing. Are you working on a WordPress project? Are you working on WordPress core? Are you working on a plugin or a theme that's related to WordPress? Are you working on a JavaScript project? And then we get to work. And I always post that if there's 2 things you're going to do, if there's one thing you're going to do in the day, please tweet with the hashtag 5 for the Future. Laura loves that. And the other thing is just share what you're going to do. And the way we accomplish that is, so at the end of the day, normally we have our Friday scrum with the entire company. What we'll do is we'll take a half hour and give everybody 2 or 3 minutes to just talk about what they did that day. And it's really neat to have that come together moment at the end of the day for everybody to share what they worked on. And it's neat. I like hearing kind of all the accomplishments. And I think, Laura, you added up our number of hours. We did somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 hours, I think.
Actually, I get those hours from Christina.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a significant contribution. And we have people that contribute to WordPress core, people that maintain plugins, people that are working on other projects that are useful to the WordPress community, people that are doing even those captions for videos, which helps thousands of people that are trying to view these. So it's really neat.
I feel like we have the process down well. And I think a lot of people noticed that. And that's why we had that company reach out to us recently to mentor them. And that's why we're doing today's talk.
Yeah.
But nothing's ever perfect. So there has to be some challenges. What kind of challenges do you tend to face, and how do you overcome those?
Well, I mean, there's still client needs, right? So there are times where we'll have to shift, and the way we try to do it is, and Christina's really good about this, like if she knows that there's like a looming deadline for a client, we might participate where it's like 80% of the company is participating on Five for the Future, and then the other team will move their day usually to the following Monday. So they'll still get to participate. They just don't get to like share what they were working on in the company scrum where we're talking about it, but they'll still share their work in the Five for the Future channel for all the people to see. Yeah, other than that, I think that's probably our only real challenge at this point. I think we've gone through so many iterations that we've kind of like navigated our way towards what works best. And I think that's a really big like thing to do is like just try something. If it doesn't work, change it, and then if that doesn't work, change it again. It's really like a trial and error thing till you get comfortable with whatever your normal business operation is. And I feel like we finally kind of narrowed it down to what works for us.
Can you describe what like the internal morale is and the interest among the team, both the technical and non-technical people who participate in Five for the Future?
Absolutely. Often when we do our like employee reviews, they're like, they didn't realize at the time when they were signing up to work at Web Dev Studios, like, okay, I get to do this Five for the Future thing. I don't think they realize how fun it is until they do it. And then they're like, wow, this is like a really cool, like fringe benefit or perk or whatever you want to call it. We should advertise this. So now if you go to like our careers page, there's a dedicated section about Five for the Future and what we do. And I think it even links to our Web Dev Studios profile on WordPress.org that kind of highlights the number of hours that we contribute every month. And that's another thing too. Like if I know a lot of company owners, they want that feather in their cap. An easy way to do it is, and Laura, you know the process, but basically you apply as a company to the WordPress.org Five for the Future page, and all the individuals that are working for you, they can like submit their WordPress.org profile as to be part of your company. And then it'll show like we contribute this many hours and this many employees are taking part, which is really cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool. And I feel like it actually adds to that internal morale or the excitement of it. But like you said, like sometimes new hires come in and they know about it, but they don't really know about it. So then and we've been growing so much and we've been adding new hires to the company and we're hiring, but how do they adapt to it? Do new hires get intimidated to participate?
I think it depends. Like there's a lot of people I think that come in and they have like, they have a plugin or a theme that they actually are a maintainer of. So it's real easy for them to go, awesome, I'm going to get 8 hours today to go work on that. Other people come in and they're like, I don't know what to do. So I think we've helped wrangle that through some of the suggestions that you listed earlier, whether it's like, I'm going to do captioning or I'm going to work on a blog post or, we've got even developers who are technical. They're like, I don't know what to do. And sometimes they'll just like go into the WordPress forums and like try to close out as many like help tickets as they can, which is fun. So I think we've got a pretty good like idea of how to do it, but there are still people that I think sometimes are like a little lost at the start. But I think, the momentum builds as they do it a couple times. They realize, okay, this is what I enjoy doing on this day, because like I said, it's self-directed. We don't want to force anybody to do a particular thing.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, Justin. We don't require it. We encourage Five for the Future, but we don't require it. So if someone doesn't want to participate one day, that's totally okay. They can work on client work. The new project managers that we just hired actually reached out to me, and I directed them right to our blog because we have a lot of good content on the blog that really talks about different ways that you can contribute back to WordPress. And so there were a few blog posts that are on the Web Dev Studios blog that I actually just sent right to them because it was the exact content that would help them and kind of guide them on that particular day.
Justin, how do you keep the momentum and excitement going? Actually, do you have any advice for others? Because
Sure.
somebody watching this might be thinking, how do I keep that going? Like at some point, does it become boring? Does it go stale?
Right. I think like if you're a company and you're looking to do this, the biggest part I think is to do it on the regular. So if you're going to do it once a month or you're going to have dedicated time once a week, be consistent. And, you know, it's not going to be a thing if it's like, oh, we do it every 6 months or whatever, you know what I mean? It's got to be on a regular rotating schedule. That way people have that time to recharge. And if you're an individual, I would say like my personal tip is to like try to accomplish, like set out to accomplish something that you can finish in the amount of time that you have. So I always try to like, you know, if I'm working on my plugin, I try to do a release, no matter how small it is, you know, so I set out and I'm like, I'm going to close these 3 bugs and that's it. And at the end of the day, I can feel really accomplished knowing that like I turned that release number up 1 more number and got something out the door. You know, if you're doing continuing education or something like that, just make sure that, you know, you set a reasonable goal for yourself. You don't want to like, I guess, become overwhelmed with the thought of, you know, this, because it's self-directed, you could take on as much or as little as you want. So I encourage people to try to take on something that they can complete, or at least like leave the day knowing that they accomplished something good.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So I'm going to jump in now and I'll talk about how we keep the excitement and momentum going externally. And that's because we promote our participation. That's really important to us to sort of give the shout out to our teammates, our team members, about their contributions. So one of the main ways we do that, as you mentioned before, is Twitter. So we jump on that hashtag, hashtag 5, capital F, capital T, capital F. So we do try to keep the hashtag accessible. So that way if a screen reader is reading it, they can read it out correctly. And we encourage our team members to tweet their contributions, and they get kind of detailed. They'll even maybe link to their GitHub, or they'll link to the plugin they're always working on. Justin, you're always working on a plugin and giving us updates on where that's coming along. So I think that adds to the excitement because people can externally see, if they're following that hashtag or they follow Web Dev Studios on Twitter, they can see what our team members are working on and how excited it gets them. And then I tend to, through the Web Dev Studios Twitter profile, to retweet, quote tweet, reply, and kind of keep that conversation going. So we just kind of keep it excited and use lots of GIFs. GIFs always make things more exciting. And then I use these tweets to, I curate. This is what I create a blog post, right? So I curate all of these tweets, and that's my, hey, check out what we did last month. And then there it is, all in one blog post for everyone to see. Additionally, as Christina mentioned earlier, we do have some blog posts available on our blog about what some ideas are for 5 for the future. So that way we do try to promote it externally to other people as well. We want to inspire them. And then others will notice these contributions on Twitter or maybe in our blog post. And so we've actually had team members whose projects, you know, their personal plugin development projects were featured like on WP Tavern. And that's kind of a big deal. I mean, that's like a really nice pat on the back. I think something like that gives that person some encouragement to keep working on this project, to keep contributing to 5 for the future, and hopefully inspires other people as well. So in the end, when you implement something like 5 for the future at your company, there needs to be some sort of emotional reward for those who participate. Yeah, you want to make them feel like it's totally worth it. People are noticing what you're doing, and this is something important, and you're important. So that is the conclusion of our talk. Is there anything else that you guys want to cover? Do you think we have everything?
I just want to shout out to Laura. Kudos to you, because every day that we do 5 for the future, you respond as the Web Dev Studios account to our own employees, which is awesome because it shows kind of like externally how we are encouraging each other yeah, and I think we have the same sentiment in like our private Slack, and it's just cool that we are like sharing outwardly on that day. And I think you do a really good job.
Oh, thank you. And also our CEO, Brad Williams, and COO, Lisa Saban-Wilson, they often will take those same Web Dev Studios tweets and retweet them as well. So it's great when you can get your executives involved as well. And then everyone's just having this big, exciting conversation and party on Twitter.
Yeah.
So in a moment, we are going to have our live Q&A, and Christina actually will not be joining us for that because she will be on maternity leave. So our CEO, Brad Williams, will be joining us for the live Q&A. But if you have questions that come up later, you can always tweet us at Web Dev Studios on Twitter. If you ever need advice about implementing Five for the Future at your company, you can email me directly. I'm Laura at Web Dev Studios, and Justin, Christina, and I will meet up again, and we would love to mentor you and help you implement Five for the Future at your company. So thanks for attending our WordFest Live Talk, everybody. Good luck.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Here at Green Geeks, WordPress works awesome. We offer a one-click installer with automatic updates, tons of developer tools like WP Staging, WP CLI, and Git, free WordPress migration, and access to award-winning expert support 24/7, 365. Plus, WordPress sites hosted on our platform are lightning fast. Most importantly, Green Geeks is the most eco-friendly WordPress web hosting company on the planet.
From website admin to actually installing WordPress, EasyWP takes care of all the technical hard work, so you can get started right away, publishing content, building your ideas, and growing your online business. EasyWP, WordPress made easy.
Put it simply, plugins power WordPress. But when a plugin fails, so does your site. With fully managed WordPress hosting from Nexus, you get carefully curated plugins that will save you from having to search the plugin database to find the right tools. And you'll never have to worry about managing or updating plugins again. Start building a site that loads ultra fast with instant auto scaling, visual comparisons, plus automatic plugin updates and platform updates. With fully managed WordPress from Nexus, better is built in.
Hi, I'm Nick from WP Buffs. We provide 24/7 WordPress maintenance and support for individuals, businesses, and white label partners. Whether you need someone to safely update your website or you need some serious help making your online business run smoothly, WP Buffs has your back.
Discover Weglot, the simple translation solution for your website. All you have to do is add Weglot to your website. Select the languages that you need, and that's it. Your website is now available in multiple languages.
Wow. Studios is an agency that has been growing and shaping WordPress experiences since 2008. So nothing shows commitment like allowing 3 employees to share their time and experience with Five to Future with us.
And as Laura kind of like broke the seal on it, Brad Williams is here, co-founder and CEO of Web Dev Studios.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here.
And even wrote a book, co-author of the professional WordPress book series.
That's right.
I don't know what books are anymore. I just read things on my screen. So does that count?
We have ebooks.
Well, thank you again for sharing your knowledge and experience and being here to answer some questions live with us. Let's go ahead and jump in. One of the first questions that comes in, an attendee Joe asks, what is Five for the Future about?
I'll take that one.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, basically the long and short of it is contributing 5% of our company's time back to the WordPress project, contributing back. And that could be contributing to code, that could be helping people in support forums, that could be sharing knowledge on blog posts, that could be really anything that's going to help the WordPress project as a whole. So it's pretty, there's a lot of things you can do to contribute to WordPress. And it just means you're pledging that you're going to contribute your company's time, trying to hit that 5% mark every month.
Yeah, one of the things that I found particularly interesting and listening to your team talk about it and discuss is how web dev uses it to enhance collaboration and team building outside of just work. And I'm wondering, are there other ways, if there is an agency that maybe hasn't adopted Five for the Future yet, for employees to kind of highlight the benefits and ways to use the program to enrich the experience at work?
Yeah, I could call out all the agencies right now if you want me to. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, in my opinion, being the owner of the company and this decision Lisa and I made to really, really dedicate ourselves to this many years ago, there's just a lot of benefits, right? And I think initially it may not be obvious because you might look at it as billable time, right? It's not billable. And so if my entire company spends a whole day doing non-billable work, there's a cost to that, right? There's a cost to the company. So, but the benefits that come of it, one, it's an awesome break. Client work is a grind sometimes, right? So it's something our team really, really looks forward to. A little bit of break. It's a great way to go into the weekend on a really high note, work on some passion projects. I mean, there's just a lot of external, just like, Lauren and the team talked about in the presentation, external, marketing reasons. Look, I mean, we get exposure from it. I'm not going to, beat around it. Like there is a marketing side to this, right? We get a lot of exposure. There's a lot of plugins going out, blog posts, comment, support forum threads, all sorts of stuff. And honestly, it can really level up your team too. You mentioned kind of partnering up and buddying. I always encourage anybody that comes into web dev that if they're interested in actually contributing to WordPress code or core, to buddy up with someone on our team that's done it, and they can really work with them through that whole day and get code and props in WordPress. So, there's a lot more advantages beyond just that. And, a lot of them were covered on the presentation, but those are some of the highlights, especially the buddying up. I think it really can just help level people up over time.
So that kind of leads me to a question I had earlier during the actual panel discussion was, did someone have to convince management to go Five for the Future, or this actually was a top-down initiative?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember back. Honestly, we've been doing it like 4 or 5 years now. I think it was from the top down. We were contributing. A lot of companies out there are already contributing, right? They're already doing it. We just wanted a more formal way to do it. And when Matt announced this initiative, that was kind of like the light bulb moment. Like, hey, rather than just everybody doing random stuff whenever they have downtime, let's like make this a little bit more formal. Let's do this Five for the Future pledge that Matt put out there, Matt Mullenweg. And that way we can really solidify what we're doing. We can really work together as a unit, as a group, where it makes sense, or separate where it makes sense. But that's what really kind of solidified it for us. It doesn't mean other agencies or other companies that are out there that aren't doing Five for the Future aren't contributing, because I know they are. A lot of them are. Most of them probably are. But this just gives us a really formal way to do it and kind of our official way. And honestly, there's a lot of stuff many of our team members do above and beyond this. They're not just spending one day a month contributing back. They're doing stuff all month long, so it really is, it shows the passion that people have within WordPress and the community and open source too.
So
go ahead, Robert.
I'm sorry, Ryan. So that 5% isn't just aspirational. You're actually reaching it, because if you do the math, 1 day a month doesn't necessarily equate to 5%, but there's more than just that 1 day a
There's
month that
more
you're
than just that, yeah, and it's
kind of
hard. I
built into
mean,
the
you know,
culture.
yeah, and it is hard. 5%. It's sometimes it can be hard, right? Because especially when you're in client services, because at the end of the day, clients are always going to take precedent, take priority. So we do our best to try to hit that mark, but all the other ancillary stuff that we don't really track really makes up the difference if we fall a little bit short. So we're not too worried if the hours don't line up to exactly 5%. We know it's happening.
It is pretty close though. Like
It is.
part of our work culture is we have a 40-hour work week, and I know months aren't always 4 weeks, but if you take 4 times 40 hours, it's 160 hours. 5% of that's 8, and we dedicate a full day to Five for the Future. Like, if we can, try to block out as much of our regular work noise as much as possible. Yeah, and it's been great. And I also wanted to touch on something that Ryan brought up, is like that collaboration between team members that you might not normally get to work with. So the way that web dev works, we usually have like build teams. So we have several teams that'll be working on several different client sites. And especially being a remote company, you might not get to interact with somebody on a regular basis. And it's actually happened kind of organically on Five for the Future. People find each other and work together on things that they find interesting. And I think it also just lends itself to a helpful culture at work. I think working with somebody or collaborating on something makes you a little bit more open to, just asking questions on your normal day-to-day workday, so that you can get help from people, whether or not they're on your build team.
And you have that almost, fun element where you're kind of, playing and finding, unique solutions to problems outside of something that there's, you're a client situation where you're, hard, you've got the deadlines, the pressure, but you actually get to kind of explore a little and fail a little bit, try something maybe outside of the norm. Justin, when you were presenting, something I really loved was you talked about your weekly scrum and not just taking the time to do this work and, collaborate. So there's this one-on-one aspect of team development, but then sharing what you've worked on, because so much of, agency work and solving client problems is, talking about different perspectives and ways that you solve them. And it just seems like you've found this beautiful recipe to systematize and operationalize your commitment, but also, team building and really celebrating the success and the work that you're doing.
Yeah. I guess on Five for the Future days, I'm like Commander Fun, because at the end of the day, I literally go down Zoom and ask everybody what they worked on. But I love that part. I love hearing what people did for the day. Their little 2-minute spiel on what they accomplished is like, it's a great way to leave the day. Everybody understands what everybody else is working on, and it gives you a great feeling.
And what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're actually going to learn something.
Right.
No, it's a perfect place for sandbox, play with new technologies. Our only real requirement is that at some point you're going to share your knowledge, get that out there. It doesn't mean you have to release a plugin on WordPress.org by the end of the day, or have your blog post published by the end of the day. But the goal is whatever knowledge or whatever you're working on, at some point you're going to share and put out there with the world and with the community. So it's a great place to explore new technologies, and I know a lot of our team take advantage of that.
It's brilliant. I really love it. I mean, and it's so easy to just think, 1 day a month. Oh my goodness, that you can contribute back to a project that's done so much for everyone. Love it. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it really just gives us an opportunity to give back to WordPress. It's the reason. I mean, every day we're coming in, working on an amazing platform that we love with an amazing community that we love. So, we need to give back, and that's exactly why Matt did this, is to make it a little more formal and really try to rally to get everybody behind it. Which we're, Laura mentioned, we're helping other companies and kind of mentor them of how they can do this, because ultimately, the better WordPress is, the better it is for all of us. And honestly, better it is for the web. So, only good can come from it.
Laura, what are some sort of non-technical ways that you've seen people contribute to Five?
I'm probably the least technical at Web Dev Studios. So, and I've been able to do some contributing. One of the ways I've done is just proofing other people's talks. That's like super easy. Or proofing any sort of policies that they have written down for a kids camp or forward camp, or any sort of material out there that somebody just needs a second pair of eyes on, even a presentation. So that's one of the ways that I'll contribute, is I just offer my editing and proofing skills. Others have been transcribing WordCamp videos. That's not very technical, but it is challenging, and it's very rewarding. I haven't done it, but I know others who have, and they feel really happy about it. I think also just writing a blog post about WordPress, or any sort of aspect of WordPress, that can also be really helpful too. But also, I think right now what we're doing, everybody who's volunteered for WordFest, like that's part of Five for the Future. You're giving back to WordPress, your talk, your organizing, all of that's part of it. So it doesn't have to be just a technical contribution.
And Laura, I come to WordPress from a non-technical background as well, and going through WordPress core. If you're part of the Slack group, you can see the different channels, and they have WordPress marketing. So there is something for whatever your skill set is. It takes all of us and all of our different gifts and skills to contribute. So yeah, find yours, find what you enjoy doing. There's a way for you to give back, even if it's not necessarily coding.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think kind of one of the things when I think about WordPress, I think content is king. And that is like the other side of the technical thing. Like if you're not going to do technical stuff, there is so much content that you can help out on.
Well,
I love talking about the non-technical side, because I think people default to code. So I always start with, you don't have to do code. You don't have to write code. Like if you're an engineer or developer all day long, maybe you don't want to write code on Five for the Future, maybe you would rather work on a presentation or transcribe a video or answer some very, what you might seem as easy support questions, but whoever's asking them needs answers and needs support. So, it's also a good time maybe to switch gears and do something you don't normally do.
Much like you said, Brad, your requirement internally that you share the knowledge. I mean, that's, major tenet of open source. Yeah. I mean, so you've done the coding and you've done the project. Please share with us. Tell us what you did. Do the blog post and the content. Yeah. Great point.
Fantastic. I'm just checking for questions that are maybe hiding out in the ethosphere.
Yeah, we had one quick question. I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but Brad, I mean, how do your clients respond? I know you're using your contributions and really leveraging and publicizing them. When you are actually closed for the day and put that notice up, how do your clients respond?
Yeah, they're fine. I mean, honestly, like being a remote company for over a decade, communication is key, right? And so that's really at the heart of everything we do. And I'm a firm believer, as long as you communicate to your team, to your clients, as long as you communicate ahead of time, it's not a surprise, right? So it's less jarring and it's more likely to be acceptable. So, so by and large, they don't really have issue with it. We also make it very clear, look, if there's an emergency, it's not like we're not going to respond, right? We're not going to keep the door closed if you're banging on it because your website's down. Like, we're here for our clients. We're going to do right by our clients. And I know, mentioned on the call, sometimes we have to shift the team one way or another if there's like a special launch happening, or if there's a fire we got to put out or something. But ultimately, it's just communicate with them. It's easier just to be upfront with them, tell them what you're doing, than try to act like you're there, but you're not really. So my advice is tell them you're closed. If you want to say Five for the Future, if you want to say internal training, but tell them you're closed and only respond to critical, security or critical issues with your site.
Yeah, we have an awesome project management team, and they usually a week or two ahead of time will let them know that we have a company event, similar like if we were going to go on a retreat. So they're always in the know before it happens. There's never a surprise.
Yeah, obviously communication is a critical component to that, and communicating to your customers makes them realize the benefit of actually working with WordPress as well, because everyone's sort of in this soup of trying to be successful with, open source.
Well, hearing that you've actually mentored other agencies and taking this next step and making the commitment, if one of the people attending was interested in reaching out to you for some assistance, who would be the right contact at WebDev?
You guys can totally email me directly, laura@webdevstudios.com. But you can also tweet us at WebDevStudios on Twitter, and you can direct message us as well. And I do check those requested DMs at WebDevStudios. So we're not following you back. Go ahead and send us a DM. I'm sure I will accept that request and we can talk about it. But like I said, feel free to email me, laura@webdevstudios.com.
Well,
yeah, we love to help. If anyone has questions, definitely reach out. We'd love to help because ultimately it's only going to help WordPress in the community, right? So the more people that do it, the better.
Yep, we're stronger together. That's the beauty of community.
Right.
Without a doubt.
Well, thank you again, all of you, for taking time out of your day to share, how we can all make this commitment and make things better. Very much appreciate you being here to answer questions live.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And
Thank
good job,
you so
team.
much for having us.
Great presentation.
Thanks.
Thank you all so much.
So it's our turn here to thank our global sponsors, Cloudways, Elementor, GoDaddy Pro, Green Geeks, Nexus, and Stratic, as well as our multilingual partner, Weglot, our continental sponsors, Namecheap, EasyWP, and WP Buffs, our media partners and our micro sponsors, and of course, our live captioning sponsors, GiveWP and Paid Memberships Pros. Please be sure to visit their tents and chat with them. You might even win some prizes. And don't forget to get your photo snapped in the photo booth brought to us by Content Journey and Stratic. And be sure to check out your swag bag too. It's a drop-down menu when you're in WordFest Live for deals and gifts from our sponsors, like 3 free months of Urban Yogi, an app for health and stress reduction. And so thank you again to everyone. You all make our big orange hearts full.
put it simply, plugins power WordPress. But when a plugin fails, so does your site. With fully managed WordPress hosting from Nexus, you get carefully curated plugins that will save you from having to search the plugin database to find the right tools. And you'll never have to worry about managing or updating plugins again. Start building a site that loads ultra fast with instant auto scaling, visual comparisons, plus automatic plugin updates and platform updates. With fully managed WordPress from Nexus, better is built in.
Discover Weglot, the simple translation solution for your website. All you have to do is add Weglot to your website. Select the languages that you need, and that's it. Your website is now available in multiple languages.
Here at Green Geeks, WordPress works awesome. We offer a one-click installer with automatic updates, tons of developer tools like WP Staging, WP CLI, and Git, free WordPress migration, and access to award-winning expert support 24/7, 365. Plus, WordPress sites hosted on our platform are lightning fast. Most importantly, Green Geeks is the most eco-friendly WordPress web hosting company on the planet.
Hi, I'm Nick from WP Buffs. We provide 24/7 WordPress maintenance and support for individuals, businesses, and white label partners. Whether you need someone to safely update your website or you need some serious help making your online business run smoothly, WP Buffs has your back.
From website admin to actually installing WordPress, EasyWP takes care of all the technical hard work, so you can get started right away, publishing content, building your ideas, and growing your online business. EasyWP, WordPress made easy.
Hey, we've made it to the lightning talks.
Woo!
I'm so excited because we're nearing the finale of all the WordFest madness, and our lightning talks are presented by Amy June Heinlein, Mike Demo, and Allison Knott. So this is going to be really exciting. We're starting out with Amy June, and I'm just going to dive into who Amy June is and her 5 quick tips for more accessible social media. Amy June is the open source community ambassador and QA engineer at Canopy Studios, not Canopy, as I first thought, with a dual focus on both open source community development and inclusivity. She is uniquely positioned to help individuals become more comfortable and confident as they contribute to their communities. She co-organizes various open source camps and conventions throughout North America, empowering individuals to forge deep community connections that benefit the whole. As a self-described non-coder, which I think many people at WordFest actually are, though they may not admit it, Amy June helps communities discover how they can contribute and belong in more ways than just coding. Her ongoing experience as a hospice nurse keeps her in touch with the challenges faced by many end users. In her continued efforts to make a difference, she helps organize, I'm just going to say Ally Talks, but it's A11 accessibility talks. But it's just spelled with ones and things. An online meetup where they invite folks on every month to talk about all things accessibility, one of the core components of building an inclusive web. Outside of her mission in the technology community space, she has a deep love for mycology, geocaching, and air-cooled VWs, Volkswagens.
And Mike Demo is a man who almost needs no introduction, but it's a global conference, so we're going to go ahead and intro him. His topic, near and dear to probably most of our hearts, is invoicing and you getting paid, WordPress tools, and making happy clients. So Mike Demopoulos is a lover of open source first, specific tools later. Because of this, he speaks at Ignite conferences, meetups, WordCamps, and Joomla events, and more. As a helpful person, he gladly contributes to open source projects in any capacity necessary. Believing there are too many mics globally, he prefers to go by Demo. Demo spent many years building a solid client base in the financial and insurance industries. He uses that background to speak on various topics, including WordPress, Joomla, A/B testing, content, streamlining your workflow, and depositing your profit. We all love profit. Aligned with his mission to empower WordPress experts, Mike is now the expert community development lead at Codable. When he's not spending time with his wife, Kayla, you may find Dema at a Disney theme park, collecting artwork, hanging out with his dog, Bielena, or inviting groups to tiki bars. Ask Dema what his favorite tiki bar is at MP Mike. Also,
that's Lana. It's a Star Trek geeky
I'm
thing.
sorry. What is it?
Bolana.
Bolana. It's the E that throws me off. The silent E gets us every time. And Allison's topic is making mighty meetups, how to encourage community no matter what the topic. Allison K. Knott is an international tech speaker who's passionate about the intersection of web, creativity, and business. A proud woman in tech, Allison produced Atlantic Canada's first WordPress conference and meetup. She also mentors emerging female and non-binary designers and marketers. Her presentations are an unusual blend of high-octane enthusiasm and actionable lessons. Boring tech jargon has no place in her talks. Whatever it takes to have people leave inspired, she's on board. In addition to public speaking, Allison has held teaching positions at NSCAD University and NSCC IT campus, mentoring hundreds of students about design and the web.
Hello, so you are at 5 Quick Tips for More Accessible Media. My name is Amy June. I use the pronouns she and her, and like the MC said, I am at Canopy Studios. I am the community source ambassador over there, and I do lots in the community. Canopy is hiring, so feel free to reach out to me if you have questions. Why do we design for accessibility? It's the law, first and foremost, but more importantly, we want to include a wider consumer base for our content. You don't want to exclude people from using your products and services. And as we get older, everyone becomes more disabled. Our hearing and sight can deteriorate over time. We need to think about situational disabilities and temporary disabilities as well. And not every disability can be seen. There's debilitating pain, there's fatigue, mental health disorders, as well as hearing and vision impairments. So why write accessible content for social media? In a survey of 850 screen reader users, 71% said they use a screen reader on a mobile phone, mobile handheld device, or tablet. And of those, only half of the folks found social media somewhat accessible. Social media is a catch-all term for any sort of application that focuses on networking, collaboration, communication, or content sharing. And there's different types of social media. There's the usual suspects, you know, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, but we can include newsletters and blog articles, wikis, curation sites like Reddit and Pinterest, forums, and even the videos that we share across platforms like YouTube and Vimeo. There are 4 broad parameters we have to think about when we make our content accessible. We want to make sure that we accommodate folks' visual needs, so we make it easy to see. We want to make sure people can interact with our content, so we accommodate motor needs. We want to make sure people can hear or have an alternative, so we accommodate auditory needs. And then we want to make sure that people can understand our content. We take these 4 principles and we make the experience as equivalent as possible across all of our digital assets. So the first tip we're going to cover is images. Images enhance our content, especially for people who live with cognitive or learning disabilities. We include images and media to support and add to our content to support the information and concepts. And folks who live with low vision use images as cues to help orientate themselves on the page. You know, images can improve usability by making interactive elements easy to use and recognize. And then media, including social media, use images for conversions. You know, having images on posts really leads to a higher click-through rate and return on investment. So I'm going to take a look at a couple of different image types. There's many, but we're just going to look at a couple. Simple images, these are images that convey simple information. Images that convey simple information must be described with alternative text. Sometimes you'll hear alt text. The description should convey the content and functionality as concisely as possible without adding a lot of extra details. Complex images like diagrams and charts and graphs contain too much information for alt text, so we use long descriptions for these. You know, ask yourself, given the current context, what information is this image intended to communicate? There's decorative images. You know, if an image is purely decorative, it does not convey any meaning, so they're marked as such. Images can be decorative when they're used for styling, like borders or spacers or corners. Sometimes it's illustrative of text that's not contributing any more information that's described by the surrounding content. But if an image is used to evoke emotion or convey mood, alt text should be provided, because you're really doing your consumers a disservice if you don't. Images of text, you know, readable text is sometimes presented within an image. You know, the alternative text should contain the same words as in that image. Using actual text is a little bit better because it's more flexible than images. Images can become distorted when we zoom them in and out. And there's a way to easily increase the accessibility of our media, and lots of social media apps provide options to add alternative text and captions, but unfortunately, many of them aren't enabled by default, and you have to go and manually turn them on. A quick search on the internet can usually yield some good articles. And context is really important. We want to be accurate and equivalent in presenting the same content in the image. We want to be succinct, you know, no more than a few words, maybe a short sentence, maybe 2 could be appropriate. We don't want to use phrases like image of or graphic of to describe the image. It's usually apparent to the consumer that it is an image, and often a screen reader will announce that it's an image anyway. And then we want to be sure we're not redundant or provide the same information as the surrounding text. So beyond alternative text, tip number 2 is videos. You know, some people are unable to hear audio. Therefore, audio content such as recorded lectures and podcasts must be accompanied by a transcript, and videos should be provided with closed captions. And remember to allow the ability to adjust the size, the colors, and the captions of the person using the player, and provide controls to stop, pause, and start the video or animations. Hashtags and emojis. Everybody loves these, and screen readers love them so much more. So much that they read every single one of them. And this can be cumbersome. There's an image up here, and we'll take a look at this Twitter post. The screen reader reads all of them in line with the text. So their angry face, our angry face, two angry face, many angry face emojis. And it just goes on and on. So it might be considered best practices to save emoticons and hashtags to the end. And speaking of hashtags, we want to make sure we use capital letters to break up the words. You know, camel case is easy to parse for users of assistive technology. It comes down to readability. Twitter doesn't distinguish between lowercase Black Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter with a capital B, capital L, capital M. It all return the same results. And camel case improves understanding and readability for lots of users, people in a hurry with low literacy, people who are stressed out, or maybe they're multitasking, maybe English isn't their first language. And that goes into acronyms too. You know, look at BLM. Is it Black Lives Matter, or is it Bureau of Land Management? This is a good example. It could be read now Thatcher is dead, or now that Cher is dead. So something to think about. Use of color. 2.2 billion people around the world live with some form of vision impairment. Tunnel vision, low vision, color blindness. You know, so we really want to avoid using color, only color, to convey meaning. You know, visualize your links, add an underline or a hover animation, you know, to convey that that linked text is selectable or clickable. Use symbols, you know, in graphs or infographics. Use symbols or patterns as alternative to addition to color, you know, add clarifying labels. And color can also mean different things to different cultures. So this last tip is meaningful content. Meaningful content means that we can't make assumptions. Assumptions create barriers, much like inaccessibility. We shouldn't assume a person's political stance, their socioeconomic class, or anyone's abilities. But we have to be sure to represent everyone as well. You know, there's other common assumptions people make. They're around one's gender identity, sexuality, and their pronouns. Gender, sex, and sexual identity are all very different things. So they're similar but different, so be aware of that. And be aware of the language we use surrounding the use of our pronouns as well. You know, they're not preferred pronouns, they're just pronouns. Brands should create content that speaks to their audience as a whole. You know, young, white, able-bodied, cis, straight men in imagery is very common. You know, consider your gender roles that you portray as well. You know, who's pictured doing the dishes or watching the children? Is every romance heterosexual? In ads, 7% of characters are aged 60 plus, 7.2% of folks are shown with large body types, and LGBTQ characters are almost non-existent. And it's 10 minutes, so I have to stop. So my last point is about digital blackface. Before posting any image to social media, make sure it's not promoting racist, sexist, ageist, homophobic, or other stereotypes. Digital blackface refers to non-Black folks claiming Black identities online, or to non-Black folks using Black people in memes and GIFs to convey their own thoughts and emotions. The problem lies in the ways that Black individuals have been and still are exploited by the media for humor. You know, just as companies wouldn't tolerate a white person taking the stage in blackface, there should be that same degree of no tolerance in the online space. So thank you. It's at Volkswagen Chick across all of the medias, and my slides are shared on the website, and there's lots of links in the resources for that. So thank you very much, WordFest Live, for having me on today.
Hello, and thank you for joining us at the end of WordFest. My name is Mike Demo. This is Invoicing You, getting paid, WordPress tools, and making happy clients. Only got 10 minutes, so we're going to do as much as we can in that time. Like I said, my name is Mike Demo. I'm the expert community development lead at Codable. If you need coding help, Codable can help you. If you're a developer, Codable is hiring. So check us out at codable.io, or you can reach me at Twitter at mpmike, or email me or any of the socials that are there. My pronouns are he, him, them, and they. So invoicing basics. What is an invoice? An invoice is just a request to get paid for the work that you have done. You want to make sure that your invoice has things like due dates on it and a way to pay you. Such as net 30, net 60, and how would you like to get paid? Would you like to get paid on PayPal? Would you like a wire transfer? All of those basic things should be on your invoice. Also, you want to talk about the differences between estimates versus quotes. So, in my opinion, when you're estimating something, it is a rough range of what something should cost. I am a firm believer of charging for a discovery. You are a professional, and your consultation time should not be free. So I always, when we were doing agency work, when I was at the agency world, we would give rough ranges for estimates, but to get a formal quote to actually start a project, they had to pay some sort of consultation or discovery fee. Then from there, we were able to build a scope of work. They could use that to shop around prices at other development or agency shops if they didn't want to use us. And it also got us some cash in the door, so we weren't working for free, because sometimes it takes multiple people to build the estimate or build a quote. So that's why you want to look at the difference between estimates and quotes. How to determine the price of your services. There are 3 basic ways to do this. There's cost plus pricing, which you take your expenses, such as hosting, labor, software, all that stuff. You add a margin. Flat margin could be 40%, 50%, whatever it is. And that's your cost. There's market rate pricing, where you compare rates with similar companies. So what are competitors in your space doing the similar amount of work charging for that service? The hard part about web services is that's an entire spectrum, right? On one end, you have people building sites for as cheap as $250. And on the other end, you have agencies building bespoke websites for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So market rate pricing is hard unless you can really quantify all the different areas that makes you unique. And then my favorite is value-driven pricing. Client pays what they get from it. So this can be done in a couple different ways. It doesn't necessarily mean a percentage of sales or anything like that. But if it's a more successful company and client, they probably have the budget to pay you a little bit more. Your rates should scale based on not just the amount of work, but in my opinion, who you're doing business with, because larger companies just take more time naturally when you have to deal with procurement and things like that. There are 3 different ways you can do pricing models. You can do an hourly rate. My hourly rate's $100 an hour. You can do daily or weekly rates, which is similar to an hourly rate. My daily rate is $500, or fixed project rate. This website will cost $5,000. At Codable, we kind of do a hybrid of this. Our experts all estimate how many hours it's going to take them, and they set an hourly rate. However, the customer will pay a fixed project rate no matter how much time it takes to complete that project. So it's the best of both worlds. The developers are estimating based on their hourly rate and the time effort involved, but the client will have a fixed known cost when they accept the work. Make sure you get a deposit. You want to get a deposit. Don't do any work without a deposit. Even on a consultation call, if you get paid for a consultation call or a discovery call, don't do any work, even if it's a quick fix. Get a deposit. Get under contract. Never work until you're paid. It's something I also similar to getting a deposit. Don't do anything until you're paid, or at least the money's in escrow, because it's so easy to just, spend a lot of time getting excited on to start a project. Maybe their site was hacked and you're just trying to do them a favor. Don't work until you're paid. There are ways that you can get paid instantly, such as credit cards or PayPal or things like that. Don't work until you're paid. It's just not worth your stress or time for that risk. Set payment terms that make sense for you. Those payment terms can be due on receipt, net 15, net 30, net 60, whatever it is. The farther past net 60 it goes, the less likely you are going to be able to get that money back. So make sure your payment terms are sensible. When I do freelance work, the little bit I still do, it's not very much. I ask for deposit ahead of time, and I bill by the hour, and my clients have to buy a minimum of 10 hours before I touch their project. And then it just eats against that 10 hours. And if they want more time, they can buy more time, but I don't let them go negative. And I don't do the work and then hope they pay me later. There's all sorts of different payment methods, all the different ways you can get paid. You can get paid with electronic payments, such as PayPal, Stripe, Venmo, Square, BTC. They all have different fees. And you kind of just need to figure out what makes sense for you. I don't really recommend charging extra for clients that want to pay by credit card, but you can make your own terms and look at the terms of your service provider. Bank transfer, ACH, Swift, money order, or Veeam. These are usually very low fee, but can take longer. Specifically, if it's international client, it could take up to 2 weeks to get a Swift order, although most of the time it's in a couple days. Physical, a lot of people still like physical checks. You can do paper money order, cash or check. I like people to pay me however they like to pay me. Sometimes physical checks still come. It's just a side effect, and I try to avoid it as much as I can. The way I avoid this is I use a service called Wingspan, which allows my clients to log into their bank to do an instant transfer without needing to know any of the information. Contracts. You want to make sure you have a contract. If you don't have contracts, you can go to Ecom Legal or Monster Contracts. Those are two great resources to get some contracts, or talk to your own attorney. Contracts are very important because it's just an agreement on the work you're providing. It's not trying to scare anyone. It's just saying, this is the work I'm going to do, and here's what I'm getting. Here's what you're providing to me, and here's the terms and conditions, such as liability, warranties, things like that. For example, on Codable, we have a 28-day code guarantee warranty on all the code that our developers do for our clients. That's pretty cool. It's in the contract. It doesn't have to be scary. Set the terms. Don't change your non-negotiables just because you want to work with a big client. The minute you bend things that you thought will never negotiate on, maybe it's payment terms, maybe it's not getting paid until you work, trust me, it will bite you in the butt. Have your rules and stick to it. It's better to lose a client than to change your terms and to not get the result you're looking for. There's a great book by Nathan Ingram called Dealing with Problem Clients, Building Fences Around Friendly Monsters. Highly recommend that. We talked about where to get contracts. You're an attorney, Legal Shield, Monster Contracts, Ecom Legal, Rocket Lawyer, LegalZoom, WP Elevation has some as well. And there's also some Microsoft Office templates. Of course, not legal advice. Talk to your own counsel before you execute anything formally. There are 3 different ways you can invoice. Really quick on invoice solutions. There are SaaS models, WordPress models, and you can do it manually. So what are the main WordPress invoicing plugins that exist out there? The big ones are Sprout Invoices, WP Invoice, and Sliced Invoices. They all have free versions. Some are 100% free, and some have paid add-ons. You can see here quickly the different price ranges and rates that they all kind of go with, and the different ratings they have on the WordPress repo and active installs. This is a quick chart of some of the features that they all offer last time I checked, which was a few months ago. Sprout Invoices has a lot of good options. Sliced Invoices, honestly, I think has a better user experience than Sprout Invoices, but Sprout Invoices has some more features. WP Invoices is 100% free, and it's really hard to argue with free, but I don't think it's the best user experience. But again, they all have free. They all have free versions, so download them, try them in a sandbox, see what works for you. Recurring revenue is key. You want to make sure that you have recurring revenue. It's what's going to make or break your month if you don't get a project. Growth-driven design is a great resource and course for agencies on how to get recurring revenue. And there's another book that I also recommend called Dream100book.com by Danny Derricks that also talks about how to get recurring revenue. I think both of these resources are amazing. Definitely check them out. One thing on Dream 100 book, there will be upsells in the checkout process. You can say no, the book itself is free, but just be aware of that. One great way to get recurring revenue is become a hosting affiliate. Imagine you do 200 sites a year, which I know is a lot, but let's say you do 200 sites a year and you get 20% commission on a standard $75 annual hosting plan. The first year you'll get $3,000. Year 2, $6,000. Year 9, $9,000 the third year, and after 8 years, $24,000. It's such an easy way to get reoccurring revenue, and it doesn't take a lot of time. And most every host that you can think of has a similar program like that. Think about the referral acquisition cost, not the new project acquisition cost. That's what I think about when we were doing agency work. How much does it cost to get a referral? A good way to do that is just, stay in touch with your clients, have a good rapport. It costs 5 times more likely to close a deal through an existing relationship than to build a new one. With that, and people remember experiences and talk about them. They'll remember you ask about their kids or their family or the card that you send on their birthday. That is what's going to get you repeat business. The human connection is what sets you apart from some of the other offerings out there. Please don't forget about it. Here's some of the stuff I sent out to WordPress people in the last year. Be genuine. You don't want any of this to feel forced. I'm a member of the LGBT community, so I try to be genuine when I talk about that. Be genuine when you interact with your clients. At the end of the day, people like to work with people that are genuine and honest and fair. And my blog kind of talks about that. So don't use a kill switch. Last thing, don't shut down a client website for non-payment. That is a lot of times a legal red flag. Please don't do it. Consult your own attorney, but there have been court cases against this. So don't use a CSS kill switch or anything like that, which is why you should work before you get paid. There are collection options such as Debt or Daddy, Postal, or Call. If you need to get collections, there are services out there to help you. Sometimes just a formal letter in a FedEx envelope can go a long way. And last but not least, in real open source, you have the right to control your own destiny. You are helping companies to change the world with their small businesses and their needs, but make sure you get paid fairly for the work you do. Thanks so much. I'm Mike Demo. Have a good rest of the day.
Oh, man. Anyone listen to that rockin' music? I love it. I feel empowered to talk about mighty meetups, right? Why not? That mighty music, we'll talk about it. In 10 minutes, what can I talk about? Hello, I'm Allison Kay, and in 2013, I started a meetup called The Creative Kick, which is a free meetup for visual and commercial artists here in Nova Scotia. I'm located in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And then later in 2015, I started another meetup for the WordPress Halifax area. And it's been a really great journey. And I'm interested that anybody today watching this talk might be interested in starting their own meetup, or also interested in maybe figuring out how to make the one that they're a part of better. So I'm going to impart to you a couple of great tips around making your meetup mighty. So the first one is to be consistent, same time, same place, and a similar agenda. When we work with the WordPress meetup, what we tend to do is we try to book our events 3 months in advance. You can do that even if you're not really sure who your speaker is going to be or who your topic is going to be. And the reason is that people are able to schedule their really busy lives around this, right? It's easy for them to understand, okay, we need to get a sitter, or I need to get time off work, or I want to make sure that this is going to be something that I can come to. It's the same location. I can make time, I can find parking. So the more consistent you can be when you're running your meetup, the easier it is for people to remember and come. And an important thing that I often get is, how do you deal when adults need adults, right? What happens inside of your meetup space when something doesn't go quite right? What you want to do is you want to have a code of conduct. So at the WordPress meetup, we send up and display the code of conduct at every one of our meetings. And this one actually comes from the meetup handbook that WordPress.org provides us. And we also added one for a stay-at-home edition, right? So what a code of conduct does is it allows people in the space together to understand the social contract. What is allowed? What is not allowed? Who's in charge? What can we expect when we're in the space? So in the unlikely event that you have an interpersonal concern that arises inside of your meetup, you can very quickly, as a leader, go to your code of conduct and say, we all agree to these rules. You're not meeting these rules. We need to adjust that, right? So if you don't have a code of conduct, it just helps everyone to feel safe and secure as to what to expect at it. And here's a really great hack I discovered. If your meetup is brand new, I highly recommend that you literally DM new people as they join. So in the case of the WordPress meetup, we would get notifications on meetup.com when a new person would join. So here's the thing. It's very easy for people to sign up for a free event and then conveniently forget about it. Oh, I wasn't meaning to go. No one's going to notice anyway. So when we were starting the meetup and we grew it from 3 people to about 80 on average a month, what we would do is I would personally email new members and I would ask them, what did they hope to get out of the meetup? And they would tell me. And if I knew someone they should talk to when they would come, or I knew how to help them, I would say that. I would say, I'm really looking forward to seeing you there. And here's the thing. When people know that there's someone expecting them to come to the meetup, they're more likely to attend. They already feel part of community before they've even gone before, and that recruits them, and then they feel comfortable, and the space just grows. So don't expect to just throw up a meetup and then not communicate with anybody and hope they show up. The best hack I have for you is to DM those new members so they feel supported and that there's someone waiting to meet them at the next event. And of course, promotion is critical. As mentioned, people are busier now. There's a lot more, especially with the pandemic, of different online events or well-spaced events to attend. So promotion, you can't just put it up on meetup.com and expect people to go there, or put up an Eventbrite or a Facebook group. With the Creative Kick, this is just some of the artwork that we did recently for a panel that we held online for our meetup. So when we were getting ready to give our free tickets for this, we put out artwork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, MailChimp, and also Eventbrite and our website. So it does seem like a lot of work, but the 2 weeks leading up to our event, we made sure that people knew what was going to happen. And we had over 80 people sign up for that streaming, and it was amazing, right? So reserve the right to promote all that hard work you do. You don't want people to miss it, and then reuse that content between your events to remind people you are still around. And the next thing is you want to focus on who your event is for and what you do. When you have clarity on this in your meetup, that means everything from how you write your code of conduct all the way into what kind of topics you will have, what kind of sponsorships you might want to have will make a lot more sense. Totally took this from the kind folks at WP Give. In their Facebook group, as we do as well for the WordPress meetup, there are slides that people can look at. So even if they have never been to one of our events before, they know we are a community of fellow users, makers, and developers of WordPress, and all levels of knowledge are welcome. We give them some really quick group rules and also where they can find more information. Make sure it's obvious to people if they're in the right spot and what they're going to do when they're with that community. And here's one that I feel very strongly about is it's important to keep it simple. And I honestly feel like you do not need sponsors for you to do what you want to do when it comes to meetups. I hear a lot of people have great ideas. They want to grow community and they get stuck because what if they can't find someone to buy the pizza? What if they can't find someone to pay for the venue or buy the drinks? And I want to tell you something. When we started the WordPress meetup way back when, our venue did allow for us to have alcohol. So we had organizers that could give us alcohol and also snacks. Then when they moved locations and we went to that new location when they renovated, that was no longer allowed. And we lost half of our, I'll say, attendees. But did we really lose our community? To be honest, sometimes when you have freebies, you end up with people who are there for the freebies and not necessarily the community. As well, for the Creative Kick, we've never actually had sponsors. And it's never stopped people from learning and engaging as visual and commercial artists in Nova Scotia. And from an organizer perspective, perspective, you're not beholden to a sponsor telling you what you can say or what you can do or how to introduce them, right? So if you feel like you can't make your meetup mighty without sponsors, I'm here to tell you that is a lie. You focus on the community and you will get things set the way you want to get them set. Now, we do want to acknowledge that often there is leadership burnout inside of meetups. So I fully believe that you've got to say that you want help and you've got to let people help you. This is a photo from the WordCamp Halifax, our first one. Lots of great folks that came out and helped us with the first WordCamp east of Montreal here in Canada. But a lot of these folk were regular attendees of our meetup. At every one of our meetups, we always iterate in our opening slides that we are a volunteer group and we're always asking for help. And the other neat thing is, as an organizer, you got to realize that some people want to help in the things that you don't want to do. They might want to create all that promotional material that I mentioned earlier. They might want to be the greeters. They might be the ones that are actually going to organize and put the events up or contact the speakers, right? That's really important. But if you don't acknowledge and verbalize that you need help in your group, you are going to shoulder a lot of that organization. Then you're going to resent it. And then it's going to kind of feel and ripple through your community. So please, if you're looking for people to help you, don't ask that they have to become the leaders of the group, but say what you want, put it out there and let people help you, because their experience and their knowledge and their expertise are going to add to the flavor of your meetup. I want to talk about doing the work to truly be diverse in your group, right? Sometimes well-meaning as organizers of meetups, we tend to work with other people who look like us or have the exact same experience or same age or live in that same social economical sphere that we're in. And it's important for us to recognize as leaders that we can always do better work to make our communities as have so much vitality and diversity as possible. So in the case of the Creative Kick, we really dug into this about 2 years ago, and we really started to look at what we were showcasing and what did it mean to be a commercial and visual artist in Nova Scotia, and what does it look like and how to represent more non-white individuals, right? And we are getting there. There's still so much work to do, but we've seen in the feedback of our meetups that people are responding and saying, I feel represented, I feel seen in your community. Conversely to the Halifax meetup, which I love dearly, and we are still working on it, these are not all of the photos of our speakers, but it speaks for itself, right? There is still a lot of work to be done to make sure that we're covering ethnicity, age, gender expression, experience, levels of experience right inside of that. And I think what's important for us as leaders is when you're trying to find presenters or new voices in your community, you've got to dig deeper. Just saying you put out a call and only these kind of folk responded is not good enough. We've got to push that, right? You've got to grow your networks. You've got to really ask and help and support people. We often say at the WordPress meetup that we're all about, if you think you have a nugget of an idea to present, just talk to us about it. No pressure to be a speaker, but we can help you through that and make sure that your voice is heard. And my last piece is just change things up, right? It's your meetup after all. With the WordPress meetup, for a while there, we thought it'd be important if we split it into two groups, right? One for WordPress users and designers and one for developers. And we gave it a whirl. But after a while, it seemed like we weren't big enough in Little Halifax to do that. So we went back to the way it was. I get asked by other people who run things like, what do I do when we don't have a lot of attendance in summer? I'm like, take the summer off. Don't like your venue? Change it. No longer want to offer educational aspects and want to move over to activities or workshops. It's your meetup, right? The idea here is that you as a leader, you have to feel supported and you have to feel like you're nurturing a community. And part of that is always remembering to fall back in love with it, to change the things that you want to change. And again, ask for feedback. We have lots of forums that we put out in our meetup and during our chats with the WordPress meetup. And also when we do presentations with Creative Kick, forever getting feedback from people so that we're not feeling like we're always operating inside a vacuum. So my darlings, thank you so much for your time. I hope to see your meetup to be as mighty as you think it is, whatever that means. If it's 10 people rocking it, awesome. If it's 800 people rocking it, awesome. So ask me any specific conundrums. I'd be happy to help. And I will also drop these slides at AllisonKConsulting.com/mightymeetups, where I've also brain dumped a lot more information. So my darlings, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you at the rest of WordFest. Rock on.
my brain just exploded.
I know they were not kidding about lightning fast. That was a lot of diverse information packed into a small amount of time. So well done.
I've gone from like accessibility to my finances are a disaster, and oh, thank God, Allison calls me a darling, and it's just like
I felt
spinning.
very loved and supported in her talk.
Very much. I think we're gonna have everyone on stage, but I know we have some questions.
Yep, they're joining us right now.
There comes Allison.
Hi, everyone.
Allison's
Hello.
more awake and psyched than I am.
She's like, rock on. I was like, yes. Also, we're winding down. But no, we're very excited to have all three of you here to answer Q&As that have come in from our audience. If you're still live with us, please continue to add your questions, 200 characters or less. So keep them brief. Amy June was really impressed with a lot of the actionable advice that you presented. I've watched a lot of accessibility talks and of course heard, the legal why you should, design with accessibility in mind. But, your breakdown of alt text and just that if you come away with one thing, you've improved my life and the experience of people visiting my website, and your tip about not doing it's an image of in the alt text because this screen reader probably already knows that. And I just imagine, having a capability that's limited and having to hear it's an image of 500 times while viewing a page. And thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I think like the one tip I like the most is describing decorative images, because we use those images for a reason. It evokes a mood, and it creates emotion. And for people who can't visualize them, they're not getting that mood or emotion, So I invite people to like look at that and see, like, it might just look like a red swarm of, colors on a canvas, but you're creating that warmth. And it's a harder to write, but I think that adds a lot of value, especially.
I think it's helpful. I mean, it's helpful to do that exercise also from the site owner and content for why was I putting that image there to begin with, and it gives me more of like the why. And if my why comes out as space filler, maybe I didn't do a great enough job selecting an image.
Sure.
So Ryan, are you saying we have to think even harder about how to put together websites?
Yeah, we're really adding layers. There's depth. There's more than just filling that space. But why are we filling it? Conveying that why to others. Mm-hmm.
I'm still in love with the camel case example of Shara and Margaret Thatcher. I will never get that out of my head. That was brilliant.
There's a lot, but not a lot of them are clean, that I think really drive home because like that's part of the problem too, is people will look at it and go, what are they talking about? And all of a sudden you're breaking some sort of code of conduct, so.
It's like those Oxford comma arguments where it's like, let's eat comma grandpa, or if you don't have the comma, then you're eating grandpa. So yes.
I think it's a wonderful way of looking at it, actually. It's the visual equivalent. The Oxford comma drives me nuts as an English major, but certainly, like I said, just it's an image of. If I had to live my life that way, I would probably be speaking about accessibility nonstop. I'm like, listen, everyone, we need to galvanize the masses. So, like I said, I really appreciate all of that information that you shared with us. I know there was a question because it was so lightning fast, and Mike Demo packed in, contract advice, how to negotiate with your clients, books to read, sources to point to, whether people could access his slides later. And yes, at MP Mike on Twitter tweeted his slides out. So if you're on social media, you can find his slides and revisit a lot of the valuable information that he shared with us.
Actually, I think the most important question that I swear hundreds of people asked was where can we all get the Mike demo hat?
Let's see. Um, I think it's Doran Brother Bros. I got this in Denver, downtown Denver. So I don't know my cursive as well as I think I do. It's either G or a D, but DOORIN Bros. And I think they have a website, but I
Oh,
got
it's
this.
Gorin. Yeah, it's
Gorin. Oh, Gorin.
Goorin. Yeah.
Gorin. Okay, so Gorin Bros. I got this right before the holiday party at my last employer, and I was just walking around trying to kill time.
Yep. WordCamp US in Nashville was the first time I ever had the distinct pleasure of walking into the Gorin Brothers. We digress on a Friday afternoon as we're winding down WordFest. There's a lot to talk about, but we have three phenomenal speakers that actually presented a wealth of information. Fashion tips, you can always find Mike Demo.
I did want to ask Allison, especially because you're out in Halifax. I mean, that's
what is it?
small.
I'm not an island out in Halifax. I'm out on the moon, Robert.
Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia.
I'm sorry.
But it's a much smaller community. How do you maintain
I love the word
that
Halifax,
energy?
by the way.
How to make the energy happen?
Maintain the energy. I mean, because once you know everyone, do you really want to see everyone every month, or how do you actually make that successful in that meetup sphere? Because there are so many smaller meetups, all over the place.
Well, I think the idea of a mighty meetup actually isn't numbers. I think it's the community that you foster, and especially for both that Creative Kick one that I do locally for the commercial and visual artists, we have more magic. Our idea is creativity deserves company. Right. And our job is not to have every artist in Halifax there. It's the people that are there and present get what they need to continue being the badass artists that they are. And for the WordPress meetup, Nova Scotia has a lot going on. We have a lot of student populace that comes and go. We have a lot of new Canadians that arrive in Nova Scotia first who decide if they're going to stay or go. Right. So the numbers never bother me because we've all been there when sometimes the best conferences you've been to, or where it was you and 20 other people in the room versus you in 2000. So the energy is from folk. I'm more interested in that community in the long term, the people that are willing, like our Facebook group is super active. And I know there are other WordPress meetups striving for that who have high attendees at the meetups, but there's no in between. And that's great at the time. So I think it's what I said, it's making people feel that even if 3 people show up, they came for that meetup. And if you bring that energy, it's contagious. It helps being very hyperactive, of course. But I think numbers, I got caught up in that. But like I said, when we switched our location and we no longer have a food and beverage sponsor, we lost half our audience. But I'm going to be honest, that audience had no interest in WordPress. They were there to talk about tech, drink the free beer, eat the popcorn, and leave. And they weren't really adding to the meetup. And people feel that. So yeah, I say energy is keep the company you want. It's your awesome space, and that is way better. And there's problems you get with larger meetups too. So be joyful if you have a small one. Be joyful if you have a large one.
I really love that advice, and I really hope other meetups hear that, because a lot of it is just having that. To me, it's always networking. So if you have that kernel of a network, that just builds upon itself. So
yes.
Fantastic. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to every size, and celebrate your pros. And I have to say, Allison, you did not oversell your high octane enthusiasm. And the fact that you bring that on a monthly basis to your community with these mighty meetups is just incredible. I wish I lived closer to you. I think once the travel ban gets lifted, I think I might need to come up there for some of the high octane enthusiasm.
Yeah, it's people feed on it.
I hate to interrupt. We're getting the flag. Closing remarks are happening on stage 1, so I just want to make sure that we first of all thank all of you lightning speakers. That was fantastic, and then go to, of course, thanking our global sponsors: Cloudways, Elementor, GoDaddy Pro, Green Geeks, Nexus. I'm running through it as fast as I can. Stratic, Weglot, Namecheap, EasyWP, WP Buffs, GiveWP, Paid Memberships Pro. Visit their tents for the next 30 seconds because we're all closing up and going to stage 1. Thank you so much. Thank you, Elton. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Amy June. and my most awesome co-MC in the universe, Ryan Kinney.
Thank you, Robert, and have an amazing rest of your time.
To put it simply, plugins power WordPress. But when a plugin fails, so does your site. With fully managed WordPress hosting from Nexus, you get carefully curated plugins that will save you from having to search the plugin database to find the right tools. And you'll never have to worry about managing or updating plugins again. Start building a site that loads ultra fast with instant auto scaling, visual comparisons, plus automatic plugin updates and platform updates. With fully managed WordPress from Nexus, better is built in.
Here at Green Geeks, WordPress works awesome. We offer a one-click installer with automatic updates, tons of developer tools like WP Staging, WP CLI, and Git, free WordPress migration, and access to award-winning expert support 24/7, 365. Plus, WordPress sites hosted on our platform are lightning fast. Most importantly, Green Geeks is the most eco-friendly WordPress web hosting company on the planet.
Hi, I'm Nick from WP Buffs. We provide 24/7 WordPress maintenance and support for individuals, businesses, and white label partners. Whether you need someone to safely update your website or you need some serious help making your online business run smoothly, WP Buffs has your back.
Discover Weglot, the simple translation solution for your website. All you have to do is add Weglot to your website. Select the languages that you need, and that's it. Your website is now available in multiple languages.
From website admin to actually installing WordPress, EasyWP takes care of all the technical hard work, so you can get started right away, publishing content, building your ideas, and growing your online business. EasyWP, WordPress made easy.